Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another trailer breakdown. So before I get into this, I just want to say a couple things. One, if you haven't watched the trailer simply all the way through yet, and that's what you want to do, don't watch this video first because we're going to be pausing it at various points throughout so I can talk about it and just kind of have fun with it. And also, as I've said a couple times on this channel, Rocky is just by far my favorite franchise of all time. I know I cover the Saw franchise a lot. I know I cover other things, including horror movies, on this channel, but nothing comes close when it comes to Rocky. This is my Star Wars. I am so excited that we're getting an 8th film in the franchise, and really, by extension, the whole Creed thing, quality-wise, especially with what we're going to get into in this trailer. Now, of course, I've already watched this several times before I started filming this, and I just wanted to go over it one last time, kind of definitively with you guys. So I hope you guys are along for the ride. Let's see how long this takes. I mean, it's a 2-minute trailer or so shouldn't take all that long, but let's just see. All right, let's start this. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to get into right here is that obviously this is something that takes place later on in the movie. It's a really awesome way to start the trailer, as it were, and it's not unlike a lot of things that we've seen before. Most boxing movies, most boxing trailers really kind of start with some really big shot of the main person falling down. The reason it really works here and did with the Rocky franchise and everything is because this movie, the franchise in and of itself, is really a character study on these men, what they go through before they get in the ring, and that fight in the ring and what it all builds up to. I love these characters, and I think seeing this makes it much more impactful. I mean, if we just see this from any other boxing movie, this would not have as much impact as it does, because we had not only the 7 Rocky movies before this, but we also had Creed. We know who Adonis is at this point, and we want to see him succeed. So yes, great way to start the trailer, and we'll just get right back into it.
We got this. You heard me?
Okay, so this is the one thing that kind of was bothering me about watching this trailer for the first few times is, okay, one of the things about this movie that I think a lot of people are going to start pointing to, people who haven't been paying attention, is that this is really just Rocky IV Part 2, really. Or the way that a lot of people are going to be cynically calling it for the next couple months before it comes out. I'm going to get to why I used to think that way and why this trailer has really changed my mind. But at the same time, it does make me think. We have Adonis here. He's all banged up. And, we don't know when exactly in the movie this takes place. But at the same time, we have this idea that he is going to go back into the ring at some point and fight Drago's kid. Are they doing some kind of a Rocky 3 thing where he goes in, he loses it, and then he has to come back and earn it, actually? Or maybe he has nothing to lose and he doesn't have to fight him at all, but he decides to fight one last time because it's going to be this huge rematch thing or something. And really, we're not looking at, the second Drago Creed rematch, but really the second and third in this movie. I don't know. I mean, that's just really guessing on my part, but this is the only scene in this trailer that makes me think that that's possible. And frankly, I think I'm okay with that. I would like to see Adonis get his ass handed to him by Drago again, and then him come back and win it for all the right reasons the next time. Kind of as they've been saying in the promotional material, and also other people just who worked on this movie, it really is trying to relive the sins of the father, or at least kind of figure out a way around them. And maybe if he goes into this fight kind of overly confident about himself, the same way that Apollo was in Rocky IV, then he gets beaten, he doesn't die, but he comes back, and he comes back for the right reasons, and he actually wins the dang thing, kind of like what Rocky did in Rocky IV. That would be pretty awesome in my opinion. But like I said, it's just my opinion. I don't know.
In the ring, you got rules. Outside, we got nothing.
So obviously, first little voiceover there from Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone. First of all, one of the things they've been doing with the last couple of movies, especially in the Rocky franchise, I think he's been trying to do this with everything. You know, he always wants these weird monologues. And because Stallone wrote this movie or co-wrote this movie, and the same way he wrote Rocky Balboa, is I think with his old age and the transition they want him to make from really Rocky to Mickey type of character, he's starting to get these more philosophical ideas about what life is and how to approach things. And I have to say, I really do love that about these last couple films in the Rocky franchise, Balboa and Creed alike. And what this voiceover or this conversation between Adonis and Rocky is really telling me is that this is something we can expect again in this movie. And like I said, one of the best parts about it, if you haven't Googled or YouTubed the speeches that he gives in Rocky Balboa, both to his son and to the counsel who rejects him the first time, then, you know, just revisit those things because it's better than you remember. But let's just get right back into this.
Life hits you with all these cheap shots.
So obviously here we have Rocky sitting by Adrian's grave and also Paulie's grave, who's buried right next to her. That was really kind of depressing in the last film. I mean, I was one of the people who was sitting there for the last couple or the first couple months or ever since we even heard that that Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler were actually going to go and make another Rocky movie. Of course, that was very exciting, but one of the things I really wanted to see was Paulie, but they just killed him off. I think that that's kind of sad considering this Rocky is someone, even though we met him in the original and he had so little, he gained so much, but now he's just all alone, and Adonis is really the only thing he has, and he's trying to offer him up some wisdom in this voiceover, as I said before. So yeah, it's crazy to me, even though this movie's harking back to one of the weirdest times in the entire franchise. I mean, Rocky IV is really wacky with the robot and the Cold War basically being destroyed or done in the ring between Rocky and Drago, then kind of taking that story and making it so emotionally heavy and so important to this movie. It's really a crazy thing, and I really hope they pull it off. And if they do, it's going to add that much more weight to Rocky IV, which I think is awesome, because even though it's not the best one, it's certainly one of the best ones in the franchise because it's so freaking entertaining. But if you take the emotion from this movie and kind of put it into that movie, it makes it better by comparison. So let's just hope that that's what happens.
People like me, we live in the past. You got people that need you now.
So, wow, like way more time in this movie has passed than I thought was going to. I mean, I was kind of thinking a couple of years, maybe like a year, maybe, you know, here it looks like maybe the same amount of time since the last movie opened, 3 years or so. That's crazy. You know, one of the reasons that's crazy to me is because the Rocky franchise has never been known for its continuity. I mean, it's all over the place. If you really try to pay attention to the various things throughout the first 7 films, it's really hard to do, because even though Rocky and Rocky 2 take place almost a couple months or a couple weeks after each other and really just start minutes after the first one ends, there's so much different. I mean, characters look different, and they didn't even try to get the same hair or anything else like that throughout that entire movie, even though it's taking place in the same time. It's just kind of crazy. So yeah, it's weird to me that they're moving in somewhat of a linear pace with this franchise. They're really trying to make it much more quality. They're thinking more heavily about it every single installment, and it's one of the things that makes me really excited about this franchise moving forward.
You got everything to lose. This guy's got nothing to lose.
I ain't got a choice.
That's the same thing your father said, and he died.
Did he say he... Like, okay, it's been a while since I've seen Rocky IV. Did Apollo said that he didn't have a choice? I mean, he didn't really not have a choice. He was just kind of, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to make a show, I'm going to take this guy out really quick, show him how we do it in America, living in America scene, all that noise, never been in the best shape of my life, blah, blah, blah. But did he ever say he didn't have a choice, or are they rewriting history here? I can't remember. I'm going to have to rewatch the movie, but tell me in the comment section below. Because like I said, they're really trying to pay attention to this stuff.
Died right here in my hands. Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
But you don't think I could beat him?
So like I said, one of the things about this movie that's, I guess, playing out in the trailer, and I'm not sure where it takes place, is it really makes me think that he goes out, fights Drago for the first time, and then he loses pretty badly. He comes back and he wins it. Or maybe he doesn't win it. Who knows when it comes to these movies, but I would be very shocked if he didn't. So I would say that conversation, a lot of this stuff going on. I mean, let me go back to this, because you could see he's already beaten up. This takes place, you saw that over there. Like, this takes place right here after that first fight. That's what I think the story is, and that's not something that they've really kind of let slip. I just think the continuity of this trailer kind of speaks to that a little bit. So this conversation, I think, with Rocky is happening before that first fight. Obviously, Adonis is not beaten up. He probably has the title now. I'm not sure. I think it would be really weird to have it end the last time the way it did and still kind of open this one up where he's gained the title and we didn't actually see him fight for it, considering every time that we saw that with Rocky, he did fight for it. I mean, he fought Apollo twice. He had to fight Clubber Lang, and then he kind of gave up the title to go fight Drago. And at the same time, in Rocky Balboa, he fought the expedition match with the champ. So we don't know. I'm just saying I think that's the way they're going to be playing this story. So think of it not so much as Rocky 4 Part 2 or a continuation of Rocky 4. It's really Rocky 4 with the emotional impact and heart of Rocky 3 when Mickey dies and all that other stuff. I mean, there's going to be a lot of heavy things emotionally in the very first part of this movie before we build up to the main training scenes and Adonis really going into the fight for the best of reasons.
I said, and he died right here in my hands. Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
But you don't think I could beat him? I was afraid I couldn't live up.
This is another thing. This is another thing that I think is really interesting, and one of the things they're playing up in this movie. As I'm talking about the way I think it's going to play out from this trailer, I think Rocky goes in. He says, "I don't want to train you for this. This guy is dangerous. Your father died. I had a hard time beating him." And at the same time, Adonis thinks that he can take him out. Obviously, Adonis has way more fame. He goes out and finds another trainer, maybe goes back to his dad's old trainer's son, who he interacted with in the very beginning of that movie. And we're just going to have to wait and see. But this is also another thing that's really... it resonates in the Rocky 3 territory, where training becomes more of a spectacle than actually preparing for the fight, because you're way too overconfident, the same way that Creed was when he fought Drago the first time in Rocky 4. So I think there's going to be a ton of parallels here.
I was afraid I couldn't live up to these expectations.
That's great. I love that. I think, I don't know what context this is or anything, but I just absolutely love this. I got loyalty inside my DNA. See, another thing, like the working out, this really reminds me of the scene where Rocky's working out before his fight with Clubber Lang, and the press is there. It's this big spectacle event. Of course, the Rocky movies were really crazy. Rocky 3 with the spectacle, how big Rocky is, all of this stuff, kind of comic booky. This movie, this franchise, the way this series wants to continue the legacy of that franchise, I don't think that they're going to go that wacky. And that's why we have the press seeing Adonis work out, getting ready for his first match with Drago and not the second one. I think that that's what they're building up here, and it's just so perfect. There's so many parallels, and if the first movie really paralleled the first one and the second one, this one parallels the fourth one, the third one and the fourth one. Maybe the third one parallels the fifth and the sixth, and we get like a nice 9-movie roundup where Adonis has his entire career in front of him. But heck, they can keep going. I would really love a fourth and a fifth and a sixth, and yeah.
You don't think you got your validation?
I got loyalty inside my DNA. I got war and peace inside.
So I think, first of all, I love this relationship. I hope to see it. I can't wait to see it continue. This one to me looks like this is where he gets back to his roots. I think maybe that's the thing. You know, these people don't look like reporters or anything. They're cutting this in. This probably takes place later on in the movie. Kind of the same thing with other shots in here that I kind of let skip over. This is, oh, look at that. That's the Creed. If you can see in the background, that's the Creed symbol that he was looking at, obviously going back to his dad's gym, which I think was part of the first film. So we'll have to just wait and see. Oh, I got war, peace, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy, poison, pain, and joy inside my... I couldn't go back to it. This is the Creed grave that was seen in Rocky IV. Awesome that they recreated this and are going to show it off. Obviously, this is going to be Adonis's and Apollo Creed's kind of meeting in the movie. Maybe he goes there and talks to him. We get something a little bit resonant of Rocky giving Creed the belt at his funeral during Rocky IV. That would be awesome as well. Maybe even if we get to see that belt, I think that would be really cool, because one of the things that this franchise has really been doing is bringing up all these little things that kind of point to and kind of Easter eggs to things that you remember in the original film. And it just kind of makes longtime fans really excited, but they can kind of survive on their own, and you don't need that intimate knowledge with the franchise in order to really get what's going on. I mean, who really cares that he's going to his father's grave? It makes complete sense in context, but at the same time, if you had seen Rocky IV, you know exactly where we are now, and you know the gravity of this spot, especially for the franchise. So I love that so much.
I want to rewrite history.
Don't pretend this is about your father.
I was born
So good.
this is more like this, immaculate conception.
See, this is like, I can imagine that this is after the first fight. I think that this is where they start having trouble. You know, the whole point of this movie is there's more to lose than the title. The Drago family doesn't have anything to lose. They're here just to kind of stir up things the same way they were the first time. He has all this stuff, but his ego gets big because he feels like he needs to compete. He needs to be better than his father. Like he just said, he needs to rewrite history. He needs to show the world that he actually deserves to exist in this world. That was his whole drive in the first film, because he needs to continue to make people know that he is worth being here, and he isn't just a screw up, he isn't a mistake. And by beating Drago is one of the things that's going to force him into that. But then he's going to lose, and he has to figure out why he wants to do it, and he has to do it for his own reasons, not just to correct history, as he says. So yeah, like there's so much, you know, I'll get to it later, but there's so much about this trailer and the way that they're playing it out and the way that this looks that really takes away all of my concerns about the plot synopsis and everything that we've been hearing for the last couple of months, when they were trying to really give us the story before they really told us that Drago was coming back. You know, Dolph Lundgren towers so highly in this franchise. I mean, Drago is probably his most famous of roles, so it was kind of daunting. It was a little crazy taking that wacky side of Rocky and now trying to legitimize it, but it looks like they've done that.
Should not transform like this, perform like this, without you a new weapon. I don't contemplate, I meditate them.
See, that to me is losing. That's losing. In fact, going all the way back, I was probably wrong about that. The longer I watch this, this is losing. He's done. Oh, and that must be, this must be the end. Yeah, like getting real good shots.
This that put against the bed. This that I got.
It may not seem like it now, but this is more than just a fight.
Loyalty.
See, look at this. This is perfect. Yeah. These are two different stages. This must be the last, I think. But this, like that, to me, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a completely different shot of the same ring, but to me, these look different. You know, you don't have the giant screens here. So yeah, two fights I think is something we're actually going to see in this movie, and that's actually exciting. Perfect trailer moment. Oh my gosh.
I got loyalty inside my DNA.
So I'm just going to end this here by saying this movie has put itself in a really weird position. Like I keep saying in this video, we have the entirety of the Rocky franchise, and then we have the Creed franchise. And one of the things the Creed franchise has decided to do is tell a completely different story with a character who's tangibly connected to the mythology of the original franchise, but doesn't really belong there, you know? And I used to not think that this was a good idea. I think that this is the best thing about this Creed trailer, this second movie's story, and the continuation of the lessons and the character flaws that Adonis Johnson's character has from the first movie. Is he, like the audience even, kind of feels like he doesn't really belong there. You have Apollo Creed, who is kind of portrayed to be one way, and then the first Creed movie kind of uproots that entire concept and makes him a completely different man, having this child out of wedlock who then grows up to become a fighter and has no real connection or family connection or anything to anyone, but creates it himself, primarily because he wants to get over his father's shadow. He doesn't want to completely be he wants to be his own man. He doesn't want everyone to think that he doesn't belong. And so the natural continuation of that story, as crazy as it might sound, really does seem like it is having him fight Drago's son, which is crazy to me because it sounds like fan fiction. But this trailer, everything I've heard about it, the passion I think that's gone into these movies, especially this one, in particular from all these other people, just make me think it's going to work. And I can't believe it, but this trailer makes me think that. And I can't wait to see it. I hope you guys are excited for it. I'll be covering it. I'll be talking about it as much as I can over the next couple of months before the movie comes out. You're going to have to see my review when it comes out. And I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Like I said, I hope you didn't watch that just with me right now without actually seeing the trailer. If you did, then make sure to go watch it in full and get back to me on the comments and tell me what you think about it. But with that, I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. It's been real.